Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to speak to you about a simple truth that governs every success story, every innovation, every breakthrough in history, act or fail. In life, the hardest part of any journey is not the distance, it's the start. The first step, the moment you choose to move forward, even when everything in you is screaming for comfort, safety, or familiarity. That moment of action, however small, is what sets everything else into motion. This is the undeniable truth. Action creates momentum. We often imagine success as a sudden, dramatic leap, but in reality, it is a series of small, often unnoticed actions that build up over time, and it all begins with the courage to take that very first step. Inertia is a powerful force. When we stay still physically, mentally, or emotionally, it becomes increasingly difficult to break free. Our fears grow louder, our doubts feel heavier, and our goals seem further out of reach. The longer we wait, the harder it becomes to start. But any action, breaks that inertia. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to happen. Think about pushing a car that's stuck. At first, it feels impossible. The weight seems immovable. But once it starts to roll, even a little, it becomes easier to push. That's how momentum works. The same principle applies to your goals, your habits, and your dreams. The beginning is the toughest, but once you get moving, even slowly, progress becomes easier and more natural. Let's take an example. Imagine someone who wants to start a business. They have the idea, the passion, and even some resources, but they keep waiting for the perfect time. Weeks turn into months, months into years. Eventually, someone else brings a similar idea to life. Why? Because that person didn't wait. They started small, maybe with a rough prototype, a basic website, or a single customer. They acted, and their action created momentum that grew into something powerful. The same goes for personal development. Want to become healthier? Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait for a gym membership or the perfect diet plan. Start by drinking more water today. Take a 10-minute walk. Make a single healthy choice. That single step will lead to another, and before long, you'll have a habit. That's momentum in action. Momentum doesn't just help you move, it gives you clarity. When you're in motion, you begin to see opportunities, resources, and solutions that weren't visible before. When you sit still, problems seem bigger and scarier than they really are. But when you start moving, you learn, adapt, and grow. You build confidence, not from thinking, but from doing. Even setbacks become easier to handle once you've built momentum. When you're already in motion, a challenge may slow you down, but it won't stop you. You'll have built up enough energy, experience, and drive to keep going. Without momentum, every obstacle feels like a wall. With it, those same obstacles feel like speed bumps. It's important to remember that momentum feeds itself. When you act, you get results, even if small. Those results reinforce your belief in your ability. That belief fuels more action, and the cycle continues. It's not magic, it's physics applied to your mindset and behavior. So how do you create momentum in your life? Start small. Don't aim for huge leaps. Focus on manageable steps you can take today. Stay consistent. Daily action, even if minimal, keeps the energy alive. Celebrate progress. Every step forward matters and deserves recognition. Ignore perfection. Done is better than perfect. Waiting to get it just right kills momentum. Trust the process. You won't see results overnight, but movement always leads somewhere. In the end, success doesn't belong to the smartest or the most prepared. It belongs to the movers, the doers, the ones who are willing to act despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite imperfection. So if you feel stuck, if your goals seem distant or your motivation low, don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the first step, however small, because that single act, that single push, can create the momentum that changes everything. Action creates momentum, and momentum changes lives. One of the biggest lies we unknowingly tell ourselves is this: I'll start when everything is perfect. We wait for the perfect timing, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect version of ourselves. But in waiting for perfection, we often miss the moment. We miss the opportunity to grow, to build, and to succeed. And so the truth stands tall. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Perfection sounds noble, It sounds like a high standard, something worth striving for, but in reality, it's often a mask for fear. It's fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. So instead of moving forward, we stay frozen, planning, polishing, procrastinating. And while we hesitate, life moves on. The pursuit of perfection paralyzes progress. It tells us that if something can't be done flawlessly, it shouldn't be done at all. But think about this: every expert was once a beginner. Every great idea started as a rough draft. Every successful project had its flaws. If they had waited until everything was perfect, they would never have started. Let's look at real-life examples. Think of the first iPhone. It was groundbreaking for its time, but by today's standards, it was slow, heavy, and limited in features. Still, Apple launched it. Why? Because progress matters more than perfection. That first step created momentum, and with every new version, improvements were made. Had they waited until the phone was flawless, we might never have seen it at all. This applies to all areas of life. Want to start writing? Don't wait until you feel like a master. Begin with messy first drafts. Want to get in shape? Don't wait for the perfect workout gear or the perfect routine. Start with what you can do now. Want to start a business? Don't wait for a perfect plan. Test, learn, and improve as you go. The problem with perfection is that it's an illusion. There will always be something more to fix, another detail to polish, another thing to consider. That means if you're waiting for perfect, you're waiting forever. Meanwhile, people with fewer resources, less talent, or more flaws are moving ahead because they chose progress over perfection. Perfection kills creativity. When you're focused on getting everything just right, you're afraid to experiment. You're afraid to make mistakes, but mistakes are how we learn. They are feedback, not failure. Every misstep teaches us something valuable. Perfection, on the other hand, teaches us nothing, because it stops us before we even begin. Also, striving for perfection often leads to burnout. You spend so much time redoing, rethinking, and revising that you drain your energy before you ever reach your goal. And ironically, even after all that effort, you may still feel unsatisfied, because perfection is a moving target. You never truly reach it. So what's the solution? Aim for progress. Focus on getting better, not being perfect. Do your best with what you have now, and then improve it later. Give yourself permission to grow, to learn, and to evolve. You don't have to get it right the first time, you just have to get started. Here are some simple strategies to overcome the perfection trap. Set deadlines, give yourself a clear time frame. This creates urgency and helps stop endless revisions. Focus on done, not perfect. A finished project, even if flawed, is always more valuable than an unfinished idea. Embrace feedback. Share your work early. Let others help you improve instead of trying to get everything perfect in isolation. Redefine success. Instead of aiming for flawlessness, aim for growth, learning, or completion. Take imperfect action. Every small, imperfect step forward is better than waiting for the perfect one. Remember, perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Greatness isn't achieved in a single perfect act. It's built over time through consistent, imperfect effort. The most successful people in the world aren't those who avoided mistakes. They're the ones who acted in spite of them. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'm not ready," or "It's not perfect yet," stop, take a deep breath, then take the next step anyway, because if you wait for perfect, you may never begin. But if you start now, you give yourself the gift of momentum, and momentum is what brings progress. Don't let perfection hold you back. The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs real people doing real work, taking real steps forward. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Let it go and move. We often grow up believing that failure is something to fear, that it's a sign of weakness or a reflection of our inadequacy. We learn to associate failure with shame, embarrassment, and disappointment. But this mindset is not only unhealthy, it's wrong. Here's the truth. Failure is not the opposite of action. Inaction is. When you take action, there are only two possible outcomes. You succeed or you learn. But when you don't act, there's only one result. Nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing grows. Inaction is a silent killer of dreams because it disguises itself as caution, when in reality it's surrender. Failure is part of the journey. It's a stepping stone, not a roadblock. Every inventor, entrepreneur, artist, athlete, every person who has achieved something meaningful has failed, not once, not twice, but many times. Their difference, they acted anyway. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10 zeros, zero ways that won't work." Imagine if he had feared failure so much that he never tried to invent the light bulb. The world would be a much darker place, literally and figuratively. Why do we fear failure so deeply? Often, it's because we equate it with personal worth. If we fail, we think we are the failure, but that's not true. Failure is an event, not an identity. It simply means something didn't go as planned. It says nothing about your value, intelligence, or potential. Inaction, on the other hand, is a choice. It's the decision to remain stuck, to stay where it's comfortable, to watch life go by without participating. It gives you the illusion of safety, but in reality, it robs you of opportunity. You avoid failure, but also avoid growth, achievement, and impact. Let's look at two examples. The person who wants to start a podcast but never records the first episode because they're afraid it won't be good enough. That's inaction. The person who records, uploads, and shares it, even if only 5 people listen, that's action. And if it flops, they learn, they adjust, they improve. That's how success is born. Think about how many opportunities you've missed because you waited, because you feared failing, because you didn't feel ready. In those moments, failure didn't beat you, and action did. And here's something even more powerful. Taking action makes you braver. The more you act, the less you fear failure. Why? Because you begin to realize that it doesn't destroy you, that you can bounce back, that you're stronger than you thought. This is the foundation of resilience. Failure can teach you things success never will. It shows you what doesn't work. It builds humility. It sharpens your strategy. It increases your hunger to grow, and perhaps most importantly, it proves you tried, you were bold enough to go for it. That's something to be proud of. Inaction teaches you nothing, it only brings regret. And regret is a far heavier burden to carry than failure. So how do you break the cycle of inaction? Shift your mindset. Redefine failure as part of learning. The most successful people are simply those who failed, adapted, and kept going. Take small, manageable steps. Fear is loudest when the goal feels too big. Break it down and act on the first piece. Focus on effort, not outcome. You can't control everything, but you can control your willingness to try. Accept imperfection. You won't get it right the first time, and that's okay. What matters is that you started, reflect, then move forward. Learn from what went wrong, but don't let it keep you stuck in the past. Remember, action is never wasted. Even when it leads to failure, it builds strength, experience, and direction. It shows you what's possible and who you can become. Inaction, however, is a guarantee of failure. Not the kind that teaches or strengthens you, but the kind that leaves you empty, wondering what if. So stop waiting for the right moment. Stop worrying about the perfect outcome. The only real mistake is never trying at all. You were not born to live in fear of failure. You were born to grow, to strive, to take risks, to live, and living means acting. Failure is not the opposite of action. Inaction is choose to act, choose to grow, choose to live boldly. We often admire confident people. They seem so sure of themselves, calm under pressure, clear in their decisions, bold in their actions, and we tell ourselves, if I had more confidence, I would take that step too. But here's the truth we often overlook. Confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Confidence comes from doing, not thinking. We mistakenly believe we need to feel confident before we act, but that's not how it works. Waiting to feel confident is like standing next to a cold fire pit, waiting for it to give off heat without lighting a match. Confidence is the result of action, not the requirement for it. Think about a time you learned a new skill. Maybe you were learning to drive, ride a bike, speak in public, or even cook a complicated dish. At first, you were nervous, unsure. You overthought every move, but then, through repetition and practice, you got better. You got faster, and without even realizing it, you became confident, not because you sat around imagining yourself being good at it, but because you actually did it. This is how confidence is built. It's a product of experience. It grows each time you step out of your comfort zone and act, even when you're unsure. The more you do, the more capable you feel, and the more capable you feel, the more willing you are to keep going. Overthinking, on the other hand, is the enemy of confidence. When you spend too much time in your head, you magnify your fears. You focus on all the ways things could go wrong. You become trapped in a cycle of hesitation and self-doubt. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. You don't need to feel ready to begin. Most people never feel truly ready, and yet, the ones who move forward despite the uncertainty are the ones who grow the most. They act without confidence, and in doing so, they become confident. Let's look at an example. Imagine someone terrified of public speaking. They avoid it at all costs because they lack confidence. But one day, they're asked to give a short presentation. It's nerve-wracking, their voice shakes, their heart races, but they do it, and something powerful happens. They realize they survived. The next time, it's a little easier. After a few more speeches, they begin to enjoy it. Eventually, they become known as a confident speaker, but that confidence didn't appear magically. It was built one uncomfortable action at a time. This applies to every area of life. Want to be more confident socially? Start small conversations with strangers. Want to be more confident in your career? Take on small challenges and stretch projects. Want to be confident as a leader? Start leading, even if it's just helping a teammate or managing a small task force. The only way to get better is to do. Real-world experience trumps all the self-help books, podcasts, and motivational quotes in the world, because theory without action is just entertainment. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a muscle you develop. Here are a few tips to help you grow confidence through action. Start small. Begin with tasks that stretch you just a little. Success builds trust in yourself. Track your wins. Keep a record of what you've done, no matter how minor. This builds positive reinforcement. Take action quickly. Don't give fear time to grow. When you get an idea or opportunity, act before doubt sets in. Learn as you go. You don't need all the answers before starting. You'll learn more in motion than in preparation. Get comfortable with discomfort. Every confident person once felt awkward. Growth always begins where comfort ends. Also, remember, confidence is not arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about trusting yourself to handle whatever comes your way. That trust is earned through experience, through doing, through trying, failing, adjusting, and improving. So stop waiting to feel confident. That feeling won't knock on your door one day. It's hiding on the other side of action. If you want to feel capable, courageous, and strong, you have to act, even when it's scary, even when it's messy, because confidence doesn't come from thinking about it. Confidence comes from doing it. Opportunities are like open doors, but doors don't stay open forever. Life constantly presents us with chances to grow, to connect, to advance, and to create. But those chances come with a condition. You have to act on them. Because no matter how exciting or promising an opportunity seems, if you don't move, you'll miss it. Opportunities disappear without action. It's a simple truth that many people learn too late. We assume that life will wait for us, that the timing will always be right later, that we can revisit that idea or dream next year or the year after that. But the reality is, many opportunities are time sensitive. Once they're gone, they're gone. Think about the people who never applied for their dream job because they didn't think they were ready, or the entrepreneur who had a brilliant business idea but kept waiting for the perfect moment, and then someone else launched the same idea. Or the person who missed their chance to express how they felt to someone they cared about, until that person moved on. In each case, it wasn't a lack of potential that held them back, it was hesitation. Hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. Every opportunity has an expiration date. It could be a conversation you didn't have, a class you didn't take, a contact you didn't follow up with, a risk you didn't take. The windows don't stay open forever. Sometimes they close slowly, sometimes in an instant, but they do close, and once they do, regret sets in. Regret is one of the heaviest emotions a person can carry. It comes from looking back and knowing you could have done something, but didn't, and while failure teaches us, regret haunts us. The pain of trying and failing is temporary, but the pain of wondering what if can last a lifetime. On the other hand, action keeps you aligned with possibility. When you act, even imperfectly, you create motion. You show up for your life. You step into the unknown and position yourself to catch the next wave of opportunity. Opportunities often don't look perfect when they arrive. They look like extra work, like inconvenience, like risk. That's why so many people pass them up. But the truth is, opportunity rarely comes wrapped in comfort. It comes wrapped in challenge, in discomfort, in the unknown, and that's why action is essential. If you wait until you feel 100% ready, you'll always be too late. Life doesn't wait for perfect preparation. It rewards participation. So, how can you make sure you're ready to act when opportunity knocks? 1. Train yourself to recognize opportunity. Opportunities often hide in challenges or problems. Look for moments where you can step up, contribute, or try something new. Be open, be curious, pay attention. 2. Say yes more often, even if it's not convenient or easy. Say yes to things that stretch you. Say yes to learning. Say yes to growth. Say yes to risk. You don't grow by staying safe. 3. Don't overthink. The longer you debate an opportunity, the less likely you are to take it. If your heart says go and your gut says yes, move. You can figure it out on the way. 4. Take small steps quickly. You don't have to leap all at once. Just take the first step. Send the email, ask the question, make the call. Action breeds clarity. 5. Believe you are worthy of the opportunity. Many people miss out because they don't think they're good enough. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up. Growth comes from experience, not credentials. History is full of people who became successful simply because they acted when others didn't. They weren't the smartest or most talented. They were the ones who moved when it mattered. If you're waiting for the right moment, here it is now. If you're waiting for permission, consider this. The world is not going to pause while you get ready. If you want something, go after it. Ask the question. Raise your hand, make the call, launch the idea, take the leap, because the only thing worse than failing is watching someone else live the life you wanted simply because they acted, and you didn't. Opportunities are fleeting. Don't watch them pass. Don't wait until it's safe. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait at all. Act or fail. Who you are is not just what you believe or what you intend. It's what you do. Your actions shape your identity more than your thoughts ever will. If you want to become someone bold, disciplined, creative, successful, or strong, you can't just think it or wish it. You have to act like it, because here's the truth. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. And the more consistently you act in alignment with your goals, the more solid that identity becomes, not just in your mind, but in the way the world sees you, and more importantly, in how you see yourself. Want to be a writer? Write. Want to be an entrepreneur? Start. Want to be a leader? Lead, even when no one asks you to. Identity isn't formed by dreaming. It's formed by doing. We often think identity is fixed. That some people are just naturally confident, disciplined, or talented, but that's not true. Those identities were built over time, through choices, habits, and repeated action. You're not born courageous. You become courageous by choosing to act in the face of fear. You're not born resilient. You become resilient by choosing to get back up again and again after you fall. What most people miss is that action comes first. Identity follows. Not the other way around. The person who wants to be healthy doesn't become that person by thinking about nutrition. They become healthy when they consistently choose the better meal, show up for their workouts, and prioritize sleep. Over time, their actions reshape their self-image. They stop saying, "I'm trying to be healthy," and start saying, "I am healthy," not because of a magical transformation, but because their habits proved it. If you constantly say, "I'm not a disciplined person," and then give in to every distraction, you reinforce that identity. But if you start saying, "I'm someone who follows through," and you take small steps that align with that statement, it becomes truer every day. This is powerful. It means you don't have to wait for some future version of yourself to appear. You become that person by acting like them now. Let's say you want to be more confident. What would a confident person do in this situation? Speak up, ask the question, take the risk, do that, even if you don't feel confident yet. Each time you act in alignment with that version of yourself, your brain takes note. This is who we are now. You start building a new story. And stories matter, because the story you tell yourself about yourself determines what you believe is possible. If you always act from the story of "I'm not good enough," you'll sabotage your progress. But if you begin acting from the story of "I'm becoming someone who takes action," you'll start living up to it. And the best part, you don't need anyone's permission to rewrite your story. Your identity is under your control, because your actions are. Here's how to begin building your identity through action. 1. Define who you want to be. Get clear on the type of person you want to become. Is it someone who finishes what they start? Someone who speaks with courage? Someone who builds instead of waits? 2. Ask, what would that person do today? Let your future self guide your present choices. Think of each action as proof that you're becoming that person. 3. Start small, but stay consistent. A single workout won't make you an athlete, but doing it again and again will. Small daily actions have massive long-term impact. 4. Track your progress. Write down the actions you take. Seeing your consistency builds trust in yourself. 5. Speak your new identity. Use language that supports your growth. Instead of saying, I'm trying, say, I am working on becoming. Language reinforces belief. We all want to feel like we're living as our best self, but that self isn't found. It's built with your hands, with your habits, with your choices, and every time you take action, you lay another brick in that foundation. So if you want to change your life, start acting like the person who lives the life you want. Because in the end, your legacy won't be made from the dreams you had or the intentions you set. It will be made from the actions you took. Act or fail, but know this: action is how you become.